Resting safely in the collections of Pottsgrove Manor are objects that share insight into a much later history of this house. Join us in this History at Home video as we share pieces that tell us their story about the Mill Park Hotel.
Hi, my name is Amy Reese. I am the curator of Pottsgrove Manor, and today I am going to share with you these objects from our collection and how they tell the story of the Mill Park Hotel. Pottsgrove Manor was known as the Mill Park Hotel from 1875 until 1922, and it was originally owned by the Gable brothers. Henry and Jacob Gable owned the grist mill in town that was near the corner of Hanover and College Drive. There was a mill race in town that fed both grist mills, the second grist mill being the one that was on the property here at Pottsgrove Manor. Whoever owned this property owned the rights to the grist mill. So the Gable brothers were worried that they wouldn't have a good partnership with the new owners, and that person could cut the water off from their grist mill. So they decided to purchase the property, but they really didn't need anything but the mill race. So they used the grist mill to store grain, and they decided to turn this house into the Mill Park Hotel. We did an archaeological dig in 2008 with John Milner and Associates. And one of the most interesting areas that we dug was near our garden, and that was known as the ice pit. It was actually an ice house. It was fully stone lined on the sides and the bottom, and there would have been a structure on top of it, which doesn't exist anymore. And when they dug everything out, they realized that that was actually the trash pit for the Mill Park Hotel. So we have a lot of trash on the table, but it's trash that tells an interesting story. As you can see, we have some, broken glasses, broken bottle, and some really neat things too over here, like a broken hair comb for a lady, and quite a few buttons that probably weren't needed anymore. This mug is probably the most interesting of all the pieces here. This is a centennial mug, dated 1876, and Philadelphia and Fairmount Park had a huge centennial celebration. And these probably were souvenir mugs that somebody either that worked here at the bar would have brought the souvenir mug back with them, or maybe a guest brought it. And unfortunately, it looks like it was dropped and broken and then tossed in the trash pit. But it really is probably one of the coolest pieces that came out of that trash pit. Now, Pottstown also had their own centennial celebration. We have a book here that was published for that purpose. So they had their own committee that was put together, and they came up with different things. There was a parade and such, and they also have a bit of the history of Pottstown, the beginnings of Pottstown and Pottsgrove, and they keep mentioning the Mill Park Hotel in that as well. Actually, at that time it was called the Mill Park Hall Hotel. This house has always been known as Washington's headquarters. It's been on postcards since the late 19th century up until the museum opened through the 1950s through the 70s. But this actually was never Washington's headquarters. Everybody liked to claim fame that Washington stayed in their home, and it also helped to put the house on the National Register too. This one is actually the earliest. It's the late 1800s, probably about 1880s, and then these are about 1901 and 1906. So you can see how nice the house looked. Still, it really does look like a nice hotel. It looks very inviting to go and visit it. You can see that a nice two-story porch is on the side of the house, so even the guests that stayed in those rooms can sit outside on the porch on the second floor. But then you start looking at these other images. It's not quite as nice as it used to be. And then as time goes on, it's going downhill a little bit further. You can see people out here on the porch. These are actually the hotel workers. The man in the shirt sleeves is the bartender, and we do know that one of the bartenders' names was Adam Steiner. The postcards were actually souvenir postcards, so people that would come to visit at Pottstown would purchase these postcards and write letters. Also, people that lived in the town would use them too. Actually, we do have one postcard where someone wrote on the back, "This isn't the nicest postcard, but it will do," or something along those lines. But that's when, it was probably close to 1920 when the Mill Park was in decline. These are all personal. We have some Kohite buttons here, and as I mentioned, the hairpins. This is actually really interesting too. This bottle is Hoyt's German cologne. This came out about the 1870s, maybe a little earlier than that, and it's from Massachusetts. The Hoyt family was trying to find ways to make the cologne sell better. That's why they put the name German on it, to make it more international. They had originally sold it in bigger bottles, but it wasn't selling so well, so they actually reduced the price to 25 cents and started selling sample bottles. So this was probably more of a sample bottle. And we know that it was made prior to the World War I, because after World War I, they dropped the name German on it. And this one actually does have the name German on the cologne. Chamber pots were used throughout history. Up until more modern times, you don't really use them as much anymore. It's very rare when you hear that someone uses it. But even though there was indoor plumbing in the hotel, rooms still would have had chamber pots in them for some of the guests to use at different times, especially if it'd be hard to get into the bathroom, since it was a shared bathroom throughout the entire hotel. The items here are from the bar room, and a lot of it was produced locally. There was the Frolic Brewery here in Pottstown. It eventually was named the Pottstown Brewery. And there were distilleries here too, but a lot of it actually came from Philadelphia. One of which was the Chas Enger Brewery. It opened about 1880, and it lasted about 11 years. Most times a lot of things were coming more locally. This is for distilled liquor, so it could have been brandy or rum, and most likely would have come from Philadelphia, but also it could have come from Pottstown, because Pottstown had distilleries too. It tells the story of the people that were here. These tell a bit of a story of the people that actually inhabited the house, people that lived here full-time and those that came and visited. They would have served meals here. There's a pitcher here that probably had milk, serve milk or cream for coffee. And then this told the story of the bar room, the different people that would come, like the iron workers, and other people. And, the people that would stay here full time, there were regulars in this bar. And a lot of these people that came knew each other. So it's not much different from, hotels and bars today. It really is an interesting history. It's, Pottsgrove had a very long history, and the history of the Mill Park is very fascinating, especially because it was a lot of change in times and thought processes.
Together, these items help create a picture of a busy local bar room that was connected to Philadelphia and its local community. A hotel that welcomed those traveling through and to those who called it home. These items were left behind by the past, but they continue to share their piece of Pottsgrove Manor history with us today.